If someone was to ask me what my favorite ingredient to use in my cooking is, my answer would be, with no hesitation, sweet basil. Just the smell of this leafy green plant brings a smile to my face, and I can't help but close my eyes and take in the aroma. The smell and flavor of this plant are heavenly, and have been described as having a pleasant, spicy odor and tasting similar to clove and anise. You would think that such an amazing plant would be hard to grow, but is actually the opposite. Growing your own basil is fun, easy, and a great way to pass the time in the summer. In this speech, I'll explain how to grow and harvest your own basil so you can use it whenever you choose. Now, let's take a closer look at basil. The Greek name for basil means king, which shows how highly it has been used and regarded throughout history. Basil originated in India but is now cultivated heavily in many Asia and European countries. Basil goes well with a wide variety of cuisines, but I think that when used in sauces, pestos, and salads, basil shines at its best. Now let's look at how to grow basil. The first thing that you should know about the basil plant is that it is an annual plant, which means it completes its life cycle in 1 year and then dies. Basil is typically planted in the spring and then harvested in fall if you're growing outdoors. For this speech, I'm specifically going to focus on growing your own basil plants indoors, however. The goal, no matter where you are growing, is to get as much out of the plant as you can before it passes away. The first step in planting your basil is choosing the right pot. Basil can grow anywhere from 1 to 2 feet high, so it's important to pick the right pot before you start growing. If you choose a pot too small, you will eventually have to transfer your plant to a larger pot to achieve maximum growth, and repotting can be hard and can even kill your plant if you are not careful. I like to choose a pot that is at least 12 inches deep and 12 inches wide so the plant's roots have plenty of space to spread, and this allows the plant to grow faster. The next step is to pick the right soil to grow in. I would recommend buying potting soil specifically designed for vegetables from the store as opposed to getting it from the ground, because this soil has nutrients added that won't contain rocks or other unwanted products. Fill your pot to the surface with the soil and keep it somewhat loose for good water drainage. Plant a couple seeds just below the soil and lightly cover. Basil needs at least 4 to 6 hours of direct sunlight a day, so pick a place in your house that has the most sunlight and put your plant there. Basil also grows best at 70 degrees, so keep this in mind as well. Make sure to water your seeds every day and they should germinate in about a week. Although you will see the seeds poke above the ground in 10 days or less, you shouldn't expect usable basil for 4 to 6 weeks. Be patient and water your plant whenever it is dry, and the rewards will be worth the trouble. It is also important to turn your plant each day, because you'll find that the plant grows towards the window, and turning the pot will give the plant even growth. Now, how to maximize the yield on your basil plant. When it comes to basil, pruning your plant is essential for growth and yield. Once your plant gets to about 6 inches, it is important to start pruning the top leaves by cutting off the stalk. I know this sounds scary, but when you cut them, more leaves will grow and they will grow bushier and fuller. It is also important to cut off the flowers that the plant produces because they will accelerate the life of your plant and also cause the basil leaves to taste bland. Now, what to do with this basil? If you're like me, you probably love to use fresh basil in your food, but if you're growing your plant well, then you just have too much basil at once to use it all. For this reason, I like to dry and freeze basil for later use in the winter. For drying your basil, I like to lay my basil on a sheet tray, put in the oven at the lowest possible temperature with the door open until it is dry. Then it can be crushed and used for cooking. The best way I've found to freeze your basil is to first pick the leaves and add them to a food processor with a little olive oil and blend them together. Then you can place this mixture in ice trays or containers and put them in the freezer for later use. Now you have basil that you can use year-round. In conclusion, growing your own basil is a cheap and fun way to not only create a delicious ingredient, but also get a lot of personal satisfaction knowing that you created something from nothing. I truly enjoyed growing my own plants, and I hope that you also enjoy all the rewards that they have to offer. Happy gardening!